Good afternoon, everybody. This is the second live broadcast we're doing. I'm probably going to try to do it this way more often. I think it's a better way to engage you all. So, if you could let me know if you want to see more live stuff and what would be a good time to do that that's conducive to y'all's schedule. I'm here every day, all day long. So to me, it's whatever works out for you. Um, so usually this is just going to probably take the place of the normal question and answer little videos that I do every month. I'm going to go through, answer questions that I've gotten, as well as talk about things uh, that are coming up. Uh, Several things that have come up is I did get the Patreon site up and running, so that is going. There is content on there that I will not be posting on YouTube. I uploaded the last video I did was part 4 in the customizing the factory rifle, and that was just a miserable experience. It got flagged because it was too detailed and just all kinds of things. So I had to heavily edit it. I think y'all will still like it. There's still a lot of good information in there. But like I said, most of this stuff like that is going to go on Patreon. That is a subscription site. It's a way for people to help support this channel. Um, with YouTube guidelines, I'm new to this, so I didn't know too much about this. I do this because I really enjoy gunsmithing. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy helping people. Um, and just being able to get good information out there in a detailed fashion. And the more of you that have come along, the more have said, "Man, I had a lot of comments this last time about monetization. I was not familiar with that, so I had to do some research on that with the YouTube, and yeah, they do have that. I don't think I'll be eligible for any of that because of the content that I make. They spell that out pretty quickly. Unless you're doing individual reviews and you're dealing with firearms, um, there's no monetization. They're not. I don't qualify for that because I have too much detail in there. Um, Thanks, Merton. I just saw your comment. Enjoy watching your site. I appreciate that. Hopefully, we'll keep this going. Uh, and again, I'm new at this stuff, so I'm kind of learning as you go. Like I said, drop a line in the comments down below if you like the live stuff. What would be a good time to me to do this on a more regular basis, so that y'all can catch it and get your questions answered. Which I can do that live too, right down to gun. One thing I've done this week is I've gotten a lot of gunsmithing related questions from all over the country. How do I fix this? What's a quick and dirty way to do that? I really want to do finish this stock in a high quality fashion, very professional way. What would you recommend in doing that? And I enjoy that stuff. I take that very seriously, and I enjoy getting the photos of completed work back. I think that's great. Uh, can't get enough of this type of content. Keep it up. Thanks, David. I'm working on it. We're trying hard. Um, YouTube makes it hard. In this, I try to stay out of politics quite a bit. In my opinion, you have to do business with everybody, and there's some things I just keep my mouth shut on, and but YouTube and a lot of the social media is really squeezing our throats. They're trying to really suppress our point of view and the things that we enjoy. And in my opinion, as somebody who served their country, that's it's not acceptable. So I do the best I can. Anyway, moving along. If you see me looking over here, I have to look at. I have to look over here to answer questions. Thanks, Merton. He says things are always slow at first. Just hold your own. Your site is great and real asset. Well, I appreciate that. And I do try. I try to make quality content with enough detail that if you're watching it, you're not going to, hopefully you can do that work and not get yourself in a bind. And if you do, my information is pretty public. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, and I do try to get a hold of, get in contact with everybody pretty quickly. So anyway, I had a lot of questions on several different things this week. One was modern gun school versus AGI. And Eddie B writes, modern gun school is your recommendation? Question mark. Thanks. And I don't have enough information about you, Eddie, to answer that question. I think both schools, they have their pluses and they have their minuses. It depends on where you're at with your knowledge. A big factor is your budget. American Gunsmithing Institute or Sonoran Desert Institute, or if you go to brick and mortar school, they're very expensive. Modern gun school is $2,000, and the trade-off is it's all reading. From what I can tell, 90% of their courses is written, so you're reading a ton. They do have some video elements, but not a lot. Then you have AGI, which is extremely expensive. And the one thing that I found in talking to all you guys is it's also they start you off at a pretty advanced level. So if you're a beginner, you're going to get lost. I've seen it from talking to y'all. I hear it all the time. The benefit to that is they have DVDs, so you have the DVD forever. I don't know what their policy is, if they get wore out or whatnot, or destroyed, or if they'll send you new ones, or how much that's going to cost. They like to charge for everything. The thing that, like for me, going through AGI, it got me where I wanted to go a lot quicker. I had it's a lot more compared to MGS. You have a lot more focus on the custom side of life, custom rifles, custom pistols. That's what I wanted to do. That's why those things were pretty important to me. And that was one of the big reasons I went with AGI. Either way, you lack hands-on experience. I mean, it's very easy to watch a DVD on operating a lathe, but then you get put in front of that lathe with a very minimal mindset, very minimal knowledge, and it's all right, we're going to start making barrels. That can be pretty overwhelming. I've had experience in those things, not a lot, but I knew how to use a lathe. I know how to use a mill. Um, so it wasn't that bad for me. But the one thing that I think could make it a lot better is by showing a lot more detail. This is why you set things to this angle. This is why you use this cutter and not this cutter. In this situation, this is why you have to use this specialized tool. And I don't think AGI does a very good job at that, to be quite honest. They're old videos, and they're blurry on the best day, and you can't see that level of detail. So in my takeaway is if you can, when I do my videos, I try to do them as if thanks, Lumpy. I appreciate that. That's why I do the perspective I do, to hopefully give you enough detail to where you say, that's what he's doing there. That's it. It's not a big hog and cut. It's a very fine cut. This takes a lot of time. There's some guys, you go out and you watch their channel on chamber and a barrel, for example, and it's 15 seconds. They show you a little blurb on how they're chambering a barrel. And they say, there, I chambered a barrel. You want to be careful. And you do, but there's a lot more steps involved than just that. And it's only going to get better. I've got some new a new camera on the way that's going to focus a little bit better. It's a bigger camera, but I've got one on the way that is a much higher quality, and it's built more for what I'm doing. As well as some wireless microphones. So hopefully the sound will be a big improvement. Colorado outdoorsman. I am 15 and I'm an aspiring gunsmith. Do you have any tips? Where do I start? There's a lot. There's a lot to learn in gunsmithing. The one thing I can tell you is and feel free to ask me more specific questions, Colorado. It's a lot easier for me to answer those. That's a tremendously broad topic. The thing about gunsmithing that I truly enjoy is you have to learn the rules, but you can't be trapped by those rules, in that you have to have a creative mind, because things change from one instance to the next, because a lot of times you're dealing with metal parts. This part may be broken one way in one platform, and on the very same platform the fix might be different because it's worn differently, or just the custom nature of things. That's an easier question to answer, Colorado. His question is, was starting a business or school? Starting the business of gunsmithing really is pretty easy. You don't need to go to school. I highly recommend you do, unless you're just, already a brilliant machinist and woodworker and tool maker and parts maker and all those things. To become a gunsmith and open your business, the only thing you really need to do is apply for your FFL. Depending on your skill set, I think determines a lot on your schooling. Let me finish this and I'll get to you, Mike, or I'll get. This is great. I love this. This is a lot better way to do this. But getting back to Colorado, depending on where you're at in your knowledge, life experience, if you will, I think plays a big role in where you gain education. You're a young man. What I would probably do if I was you is you're 15 years old. See if you can get I would be looking at part-time work, maybe cleaning up a machine shop, or cleaning up for your local gunsmith, or see if you can help out there. Nothing beats real world hands-on experience. Anything that you can do mechanically is a tremendous asset in this business. I draw on my background, which is, that's a whole different topic, but I draw on my background every day on all different aspects of it. And then from there, Colorado does have a good trade school program set up for gunsmithing. Being a young guy, I'd be looking into that, and the benefit to brick and mortar schooling. I just had this conversation with another young gentleman. He's graduating high school this year. He's pretty serious about getting into gunsmithing, and he says, I really want to do this. My dad doesn't think there's any money to be made in it. What do you, anything you can do to help would be great. And basically I said, well, first off, I would do my research in my backyard and see if there's a call for that kind of work in your area. I haven't found an area yet where there isn't a call for a good gunsmith. What do I mean by good gunsmith? There's lots of gunsmiths out there. To me, a good gunsmith is a lot like a good mechanic. I'm going to go to somebody that I like one-stop shop. If you come into my shop and you need something fixed or built or whatever, there's no excuse for me to say no. I have mills, I have lathes, I have TIG welders, I have torches, I have my Cerakote and Cerakote oven. I have a bunch of woodworking and checkering tools and things of that sort. So to me, whatever comes through that door, I should be able to handle. To me, at a professional level, even a hack fix should speak to a very high degree of professionalism. It should look better almost all the time than it did from the factory. That's just my opinion. I'm pretty fanatical that way. And I haven't found where there isn't a call for that level of excellence. The benefit for you being a young man is you don't have a family, hopefully, yet. That's really none of my business, but hopefully you're not tied down with, like me, when I made this decision. I already had a full-time job. I already had a career. I have a family. And I just said, I want to make a hard right. And this is what I did. That's a tremendous amount of stress. I don't recommend that for most people, but in that situation, for me to go off to school, I can't afford to do that. Whereas I would look at Colorado. I think it's School of the Trades, and they have a pretty good gunsmithing course. And the reason I say that is you can go there. It's probably 2 years. You can go there. You're going to learn everything you need to know with hands-on experience. You're going to learn lathes. You're going to learn mills. You're going to learn woodwork, basic woodworking. You're going to learn gun repair and all of those things to be a gunsmith. Then you go back home, and if we all go through, every business out there has highs and lows. And if you're just strictly a gunsmith, you're going to have some downtime where there may not be a lot in your area that needs to be fixed. Well, if you have hands-on experience with a mill and a lathe, Farmer Brown comes into your shop. That happens here quite a bit, actually. Farmer Brown comes into my shop, my neighbor, and they have these big, huge feed trucks and all kinds of stuff. And there's like, hey, we broke this. I need this keyway cut. I need this gear made. I need this. I need that. I do it. I do it because I like to be a good neighbor. But it's a good source. I have all this equipment. Why not use it? So in those downtimes, I always have stuff to do. And to be honest, I don't have too much downtime. So I think for you, I would be looking more to brick and mortar school. If you're in Colorado, you've got, got Colorado School of Trades. I believe that's what the name is for it. You can Google it and find that out. That's a pretty good school. And like I said, you're getting real hands-on experience. If you have any other questions, Colorado, go ahead and get them out there. Mike wants to know, are the videos you're describing going to be on YouTube or Patreon? So the way that's going to work is I've really, I want to say I haven't, this is something that I've fought doing for a while. And I just keep coming back to the questions that I have to answer from different schools. There are students that have graduated or going through the course and the problems that they're having, where that type of video, I'm looking at, I guess the short answer is I'm looking at three different platforms. I'm going to keep the YouTube channel because I enjoy this. It's a huge platform. I enjoy talking to y'all and visiting with y'all and answering questions and doing things just like this. I'm still going to have basics on here. Nothing like what the accurizing, the custom rifle was. Like I said, there's going to come a point where they're just going to ban even that level of detail. I mean, I forget. I was going through, and that seemed to be where the biggest hangup was in that particular video, going through the measuring process to get your chamber right. I had to cut most of the important parts out of that to get it through. There was a lot of stuff in there that I had to cut out of that video so that it could even make it to YouTube. So the highly detailed stuff, it is going to be on Patreon. And then there's some things that I'm doing that it will only be there, or like right now I have one of the questions on here was, can you go through the ATF? It is sad, Lumpy. It is. This is America. We have the right to, in my opinion, free speech. And right now we're in a point in this country, even in Texas. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm down here in Texas, and it's creeping in quite a bit to where if you don't agree with somebody, they just shut you down. And then they wonder why there's so much division. Well, if you're only exposed to one way of thinking, that's all you know, and of course you're going to be divided. And that's not what this country was built upon. It is. It really makes me sad, especially I've had a lot of brothers and sisters pay the ultimate to protect these rights that we have, and there's some days it really makes me sad, because it's why are our youngsters going off to defend a constitution that apparently people don't appreciate anymore? That's a rabbit hole that I try not to go down very often, but they are things I think about, and it does make me sad. Getting back to your question on the videos, Mike. So yeah, there's what I'm going to do is right now on Patreon, I have it set up because these do take a lot of time to make, especially like the are there any good? Oh, absolutely. I'll talk about books in a minute. But I see the danger of going live, but that's okay. We'll get through it. I got lots of time. So getting back to the videos, the way I'm going to do that is right now, if you go to Patreon, you go www.patreon.com/DH Gunworks. I have a tier. It's set up $10 a month. And for $10 a month, you'll get access to videos that I haven't made public yet, as well as stuff that I won't make public because it sure enough, it may not be necessarily safe. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I.e., in one of the upcoming videos, I'm going to be talking about triggers and trigger jobs and things of that sort. I don't want just anybody doing that, especially, you know, I hate to say for free. That's not really my deal, but the way I do trigger jobs is pretty rare, especially if you've been through like the AJI course and you've seen Bob do a trigger job. Man, it's savage. That's all I can say about that. So there is stuff on there. Like right now, there's a video on there that's for the people that subscribe to that and help support the channel. And it goes through all the ATF record keeping paperwork. I had another request for that. Could I do a video on that? That video will eventually be made public, probably Monday or Tuesday. And it goes through the process that I use. It's probably a little bit longer than it needs to be, but it goes through the process that I use to stay in compliance with the BATF. And that's there now. Also, I have it's the first shooting. It was when I first started doing videos. There's a whole section in there on how to build a 6.5 Grendel. That's actually, it's part of a bigger course that I'm doing on the AR, where we're going to go through the AR and we're going to talk about different chamberings. One of the big things that I found with all of these schools, I've been around the AR for many, many, many years. And the thing that absolutely made me sick, and I can already hear my phone ringing from AGI on this. The thing that made me sick was when I got to the AR course and I went through it, and I was just very, very disappointed. And I'll tell you why. That video was made in the 90s. And if you understand the history of the AR platform in general, that wasn't even accepted by the military, let alone the public, really until right around 1992, when you had guys from the private sector, guys like Bill Wild and others like that were coming more from the competitive side of life, really develop that platform and work the kinks out. And they go through some basics just enough to get you in a lot of trouble. And anyway, and being in Texas, there's a lot of AGI graduates around, and I would field a lot of questions from them about ARs and the problems they were having with gas systems. And they're not that complicated, but if you get it wrong, you get it wrong, and it's going to raise hell with the whole platform. So you got to get it right. And so I said right then and there, I'm going to do a whole course on the AR because it's really misunderstood. And the other reason for that was because gunsmiths, just a tried and true gunsmith, I've had some real butcher jobs come in on the AR that just make you want to cry, and it could easily be avoided. So for me, there's got to be a way to bridge that gap between a gunsmith and an armorer to produce and maintain and build quality rifles. So the 6.5 Grendel, which is already on Patreon, that was one of the very first videos I did. So if you do sign up for that and you go there and you watch that, just understand that there's things that I talk about in that video, like trigger jobs and things like that, that I haven't even covered yet because I haven't filmed that part of the course. And the reason I picked the 6.5 Grendel is because that was a problem child for the AR for many, many years because of feeding and gas, the way the pressures you need to get it to function right on the gas side of life. And that's really that's what kind of got me into this whole mindset of wanting to do courses. I'm reading comments, so if you see me pause, that's what I'm doing. I find some of these pretty good, and we're going to get to them all. So yes, there's going to be stuff on Patreon. I will continue to do things on YouTube. Patreon is actually a hell of a lot more user friendly for me. It notifies me the minute somebody signs up. I think I just got it up and running not that long ago, and there's 4 people that are there. And I personally email everybody and thank them and let them know what's coming up. And I have little blurbs and stuff. It's just a lot easier for me to manage. It's just more under one roof. YouTube is scattered. It's hard for me to keep track of everything. But it's a huge platform, and I can talk to a lot of y'all that way. The other thing that I'm doing, and I'm actually going to start that process this weekend, is the very first course that I'm going to do. There's going to be a part of it that's on Patreon, and then there's going to be a part that there's the same thing's going to be on. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Vimeo. It's not Venmo, the money app, but it's Vimeo. It's like YouTube. It's another video thing, but it's on demand. So the course that I'm doing on the Glock is going to be custom Glock. We're going to go through the design, function, operation, grip enhancements, things that you want to do to the ramp and the chamber and the barrel, and just how to make it a much better trigger jobs. We're going to even get into the Cerakote on that. In fact, bear with me, I have it right here. As a matter of fact, this is it. This is it's a little 26, and we're going to just basically go through it, change out the sights, upgrade the trigger. I do a lot on the grips on these. I personally can't stand the Glock grips. Yeah, that's the one. Vimo or Vimeo or however I just don't know how to say it. But that event, so what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to download that course on Vimo, I guess is how you say it. And it'll be a very detailed course. It'll be certified. You'll have to take the course. You'll have to watch the video. You'll get a reference manual it's probably the Bible in the Glock world. You'll get a test. You'll have to do the test. We'll have to do some kind of video. One thing I don't do that some of these online schools, I just don't believe in handing out certificates. I think there's got to be a way to determine you actually know what you're doing. And so I'm working on all that, but eventually that will be available. But there'll be a version on Patreon, and there'll be another version on Vimo. That's the plan. A lot of this stuff will take a long time to develop, and it's going to be. I'm going to do several platforms. We've got the Glock. I do a lot of 1911s. I love the 1911. Of course, I probably date myself when I say that. I've been around them forever. And I just, to me, it's like my favorite pair of gloves or my favorite shoes. There's, and unlike a lot of the modern firearms, when you get into the 1911, even if it's drop in, it's not drop in. And if you've worked on the 1911, you know that. There's a lot of fitting that goes on with a 1911. You have to be a pretty damn good gunsmith to work on those. So I'm going to have a whole series on that. A bunch of them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 of them stacked up that are all custom, different levels right now. So all of that's coming. I'm working on doing a whole gunsmith course from start to finish. It's going to cover machining, from how to, not just gunsmithing. I think that's where a lot of people get left behind, is you learn the gunsmithing like AGI. Those of you that are in AGI that I've talked to, if you're watching, you know this to be true. You learn the function, but then it comes time to fix it, and it's I don't know how to. What do I do? So I've got to. And these are things that I take serious. So I've got to find a way to bridge all that, especially with the lathe. When I went through their machine course, the information is good, but there's a lot in there that can get you in big trouble too. And so I'm looking at doing a whole course on practical machine work. We're going to go through how to buy a lathe, how to make sure it's going to work for you, how to set it up, basic machining operations, and each little operation will have a project. I think, this is a punch that I made. It's a center punch. Made that on the lathe in the mill. I've got some other tools most all of my gunsmithing tools. When I started building custom rifles, I made, because I didn't have the money to buy them. Like I said in the last video, if you can make a machinist hammer, chambering a rifle is pretty simple, especially if you can do it to spec. So it's a huge undertaking, but it's going to happen. And obviously I'll keep you all posted on that. So yeah, there's going to be videos all over, and it'll all make sense when I get to that point. Everybody will know where to find everything. W. Ben Collins, hello from Southern California. You are a wealth of knowledge and have inspired me to pull the trigger on getting my gunsmith training started recently. Well, thanks, Ben. And if there's anything I can do to help you, you let me know. And that goes for anybody. I love this. This has been really good to me. I love the industry. Like I said, I love talking to y'all this way, on the phone, email, whatever. I think it's learning. I love to learn things. A lot of it is y'all's fault for me even wanting to get into doing courses. And I say that with a delight in my heart, because by talking to you guys, you don't realize how much I've learned from y'all just in explaining things. You really get to, there used to be an old saying, those who can't do teach. Well, I think those who teach and teach very well, they can do very, very well. And I think when you can pass that information along in a clear way that people understand, it means that you really understand your craft. And that's been proven to me time and time again in the horse business. I train. So in the morning, I train rein cow horses. I eat lunch. I get caught up on my emails and things of that sort. And then I get to work then I go to work in the shop. And in the course of teaching people, I think the hard part of teaching is sometimes we've done it so long and so much that sometimes we forget about the details. And to be a great teacher, you have to step back and be able to look at those details and be able to convey how to put those details into action. And training people to get along with horses has been a big, tremendous help for me on that. So yeah, and I'm always looking to improve on that too. So, but that's an absolute delight for me. And then, yes, there's all kinds of great books for beginners. Lumpy, yeah, Fred Zeglin, he's a friend of mine. He's a real good guy. He teaches, he actually is the head of the gunsmithing school up there in Montana. Fred's a good guy. In fact, you can get a lot of good information on his books. Um, he has several of them out. One is Understanding Headspace for Firearms. The other is Chambering Rifles for Accuracy, and they're part of his student handbook series. Um, Other books that are really good for beginners is Towsley, the Gunsmithing Modern Firearms. I hope you can see that. Somehow I got to figure out how to flip this camera around in the live thing so you can actually see what it says. But it's by Bryce, Brycem Towsley, Towssley. You can find that probably on Amazon. And the other thing I'm going to start doing is linking all the tools that I use and all of that stuff in the descriptions below. I got to get better about that because I spend probably just as much time answering questions on the tools that I use and where you can get them than I do on schools and books and how more of the how-to stuff. It's just as important. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't know where to buy stuff, it's tough. Those are really, really good books to start out with. And then from there, you can, I have Professional Gunsmithing, Advanced. I have a library like you wouldn't believe on books on everything from uh, mechanical engineering to, I have a whole library, a whole encyclopedia. They make a encyclopedia for machinists, and I've got it going back to 1930, right up. It's just a huge wall of just stuff, and all of it is, to me, it's important. I use it all in different parts of things that I do. I'm not saying you have to jump into that right now, but that if you're a beginner, Gunsmithing Modern Firearms by Bryce M. Towsley is an excellent book. You're not. It's written like you could actually sit down and read that and go through the projects that he lays out in that, and you can do them. They're very right from beginner stuff up to pretty advanced operations. It all depends on it, but my point is that's just it's a good read. It doesn't read like a school book either. He's got a good sense of humor. So I recommend that. Anything in gunsmithing, really. There's Kinks. You can go on to Brownells and get the whole Kinks set of books. I actually have the first volume in Kinks in the first printing. It was the very first edition. It's old. I don't even open it. But that whole series is excellent. So yeah, and again, it's a easy reading. There's some things in Fred's book. His books are real easy to read, but like on chambering rifles, you kind of have to know how to chamber rifles to put that to use. There's a lot of good information in there, but you got to know what you're doing in order to put that to use. So that's my only problem with that. But Fred is a real good guy. And then so really enjoy and learn. This is Martorius Puck. Really enjoy and learn from your videos. Personally, I don't have a problem paying to access your in-depth videos. It's an investment in a new career, just like paying for school. Yes, I appreciate that. And that's kind of how I ended up having to look at that, is the quality that I want to be able to put out there is hopefully of the caliber that you can sit down and do it. And not only that, but if you get caught in a bind and you don't understand something, you can email me, call me, or whatever. And there's some things that I it can wait a day or two. But like the other day, I had a fella from California call me up. He was working on a gun stock, and he needed to get it out the door. It was the guy was coming in the next morning to pick it up. He got it fixed, but something happened. It was the Browning automatic, and something happened where the buttstock was extremely loose, and he's, I don't know what to do. I don't, I got to have a quick way to fix this. And of course I said, well, bed it. Well, I don't have bedding material here. I've got to get this done. Is there a better way? Do you drink soda? What do you mean? Well, do you drink soda pop like Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper, whatever? Well, yeah. Okay. Is it in a bottle or is it in a can? Well, it's in a can, Diet Coke. Okay, that's great. You've got shim stock. So cut out that pattern. That tin is extremely, you can use that stuff for all kinds of stuff. So you can cut that out, make yourself a shim in between the tang and the buttstock, trim it out, tap those holes out, not even tap them, just cut those holes, drill those holes out so you can get to the wood. And it'll pull all that slop out of that stock. He sent me a picture of it and said, man, I got to tell you, I never would have thought of that. It fixed it beautifully. And those are the things that I really need to start getting out there, no matter what anybody does. And that's going to be what Patreon is all about. There's a lot of thoughts that go through my brain. Sometimes I think I'm part squirrel that way. But the beautiful thing about gunsmithing is you're really never done learning, and everything's different. So that's the role I think in the long run that Patreon will play, is if I do. And the other requirement that I had as far as courses is they have to be affordable. You go out, I can't remember, where is it? I've got it here somewhere because I talk to people about AGI so much. I have everything. This is a video index. Where's my catalog? I think it's over $1,000 for their Glock course. I mean, it's a Glock, for God's sakes. The thing is, it's they're not hard, and to me, that's just highway robbery. And yeah, I understand you're training people to do this, and that's worth something. But for most people, that kind of money, I mean, when you sit down and you actually look at a Glock, yeah. So the Glock course, the certified Glocksmithing course, is $1,297 plus shipping and handling. That's in the new catalog. As far as I know, they're the only ones that make videos on customizing pistols and rifles. There's no hands-on experience. There's no tools. And I mean, it's a Glock. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around spending that kind of money on that course. And again, I know my phone's going to start ringing and I'm probably burning some bridges here, but it's a Glock. What are you going to, there's not much to them. I mean, once you understand how it functions, and once we go through the modifications that you can do with a factory frame and a few little things to really dress it up, make it to me, the role of a gunsmith is to make good firearms better and make bad firearms good. That's the role. And I just can't see. Yeah, exactly. It's like $35 per part in a Glock. Exactly. It's ridiculous. And so what I want to do is I'm going to do the course on the Glock. And when I get to the point where I say, hey, I have a course on the Glock to where, not only you're going to be, there is no more factory training. That's really hard to get these days. Um, I was fortunate enough through the military to where I do have some factory, like through SIG and Glock, um, but and Colt. Um, but yeah, so I can't, I can't say that you're going to be factory trained. But to me, I can certify somebody that way, and I'll have a system in place to where I know that you're competent, and if you get stuck, you'll have the resources at your hand to get through it, and you'll have you'll get some stuff, uh, not just a DVD in a cheap little book that's mostly incorrect. And this shouldn't come to any surprise. I've been working with AGI on this for over a year, is fixing these damn tests. These tests they were all produced, back in their courses was produced in the late 90s, early 2000s. And the information, there's been situations where I've had people call me on the phone, specifically in the Glock course, and say, hey, I got these questions wrong and I'm right. And they'll read me the questions and I'll say, yeah, they haven't kept up with the times. Well, how are you going to know that? And then I'm going to have the system in place via Patreon to where it's continued education, because you can't cover every repair for every firearm out there. I don't know anybody that's done that in any discipline, whether you're a mechanic or whatever. There's just something that always comes along that's just will make you go, huh, how in the hell? So that's my plan. And I've just got to figure out how I'm going to do all of it, but I think it's going to be pretty cool. And I think if you guys like what I'm doing now, this is going to be a whole nother level. And not to toot my own horn, but a lot of these schools don't have a mechanical engineer teaching their courses. They're another gunsmith, or like SDI. I think they may have some now, because their program has changed. They've added on welding and machine shop. And I know the machinist in their school, I forget which company but he comes from aviation background, so he's probably really, really knowledgeable. But anyway, thanks, Lumpy. I appreciate it. Yes, I'm very passionate about this. I love it. Like I said, gunsmithing is more than, I watch people, and you can see people and they kind of get up. They're like, man, I gotta fix that, and they just rah rah rah, and they get through it and it's done, and they collect the money and life goes on. I was very fortunate with some of the people that I've gotten to work with, and one of those was a guy by the name of Gene Shuey. If you don't know who Gene Shuey is, you can Google him. You type in Gene, GENESHUEY, or Shuey Custom. He builds custom 1911s, and I consider Gene a good friend. I consider him a mentor. He's just a really nice human being, and when he picks something, you can just tell when he picked something up, his gears are whirling 9,000 miles an hour, and he's already come up with a plan on how to make that just the most fantastic thing that you've ever shot in your life, whether it's a Glock or a SIG, or he does mostly Glocks and 1911s. And they are some of the other than like Jesse James. He just moved down to, Jesse James, the motorcycle guy. He just moved down to Dripping Springs. That guy's on a whole different level. I mean, I don't know that there's too many people that are going to pay $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 for a 1911, but that's what his deal is. And he builds some beautiful things. But as far as usable and beautiful custom work, Gene Shuey instilled in my brain um, just that level and just that passion. And I think he always said, anytime. Hi, Frank from Chicago. How's it? Boy, I love Chicago. I have a lot of good memories in Chicago. That was when I was a youngster. I went in the military when I was 17 years old, and that's where I went to boot camp, was in Great Lakes. And I remember that was the first time I ever saw an escalator in my life, was when I went to Logan Airport. And when I got off the plane in Chicago and walked outside that airport, looked at those tall buildings and said, "Oh my goodness!" And uh, I fell in love with Chicago. We used to have we'd get on the train and go down to Chicago, and everybody would visit, the Hard Rock Cafe and all those things. Um, there was a little bar called Tommy's, and I love Tommy's. And then I was really kind of ignorant back in those days. I can remember walking down Caprini Green to get to. It was a faster way to get to wherever I was going. I had to go through there, and it was tough back then. I can't imagine what it's like back now. What it's like now, but I made it, and I love Chinatown and all of it. Chicago holds a special place in my heart. As far, I'm not a city guy, but I really like Chicago. So, how you doing, Frank? Hope everything. It's probably getting cold up there by now, but anyway, back to my point. Um, One thing that Gene Shuey really instilled in me was um, not only the idea of creativity in what you do, but really craftsmanship. You think about how everything these days is money different, is money orientated. How fast can you make a buck? How fast can you do this? How fast can you do that? I've always said, when a microwave is too slow, when a microwave has gotten to be too slow, we need to take a break. And when you go into when you get to meet Gene Shuey, the first time I met him, he every other word out of his mouth was, when you pick this up, your brain you should always think, how can I make this better? It doesn't matter what it is. That's how you should think. And we just hit it off right from there, because that's kind of how I've tried to be my whole life. And it puts you in a very dangerous position, because I could customize this, and I could do it in a couple hours. I've seen people that do that, and they get a lot of money for what they do, and it looks like it looks terrible, and it feels terrible, and people are happy because they can say, "Hey, I have a custom Glock," and they think, but it's all money for them. To me, when I do this stuff, of course, I like to be paid because I like to eat and I have bills. Um, but to me, there's it's my signature. You know what I mean? It's my pride, it's my signature, it's my work ethic. When I put that back in somebody's hand, um, they know about me. They know what kind of person I am, and I want that to be a good reflection. I had a guy, I did Glock not that not that long ago, and basically he is a 1911 guy. His name is Richard Davis. He lives down in South Texas. He's gotten to be a real good friend of mine. And he said, I've got this. I hate it. I've got this Glock, and he's got it's a good one. It's one of the older ones, and I can't remember which one it is now. It was a little while ago. Um, but he said it's so gritty, and it doesn't fit my hand good, and it's just like, I shot it twice and I use it for a paperweight. Um, and the anyway, I said, really? The next one I did, I drove down there mostly because he was a friend. And I said, here, I want you to try this. And he said, wow, I can't believe that. Can you do that to mine? And I said, well, we can try. And, I mean, as long as it's not, been shot with a cannon, probably. And so he gave it to me, and I went through and did what I do. And it was, I was down there and dropped it off to him. And he was pretty happy with it then. And then a couple weeks go by, and I got a text from him, and it was he said, man, what did you do? Buy me a new Glock, because this is awesome. This is fantastic. This goes way beyond. It's not even the same pistol. And to me, that's the other side of it. I think the minute you really start worrying, there's a line. Yes, being paid and earning a living is very important, but don't lose yourself. Don't if you get to a point where you don't enjoy it anymore, find something else to do, I guess is what I'm saying. And I love this. It's my every shop has to me, every machine shop has to have a cat. Most of I have dogs. I have a few German shepherds, but I also have a shop cat named Bubba, and he's letting me know he's up there, and he's mad that I'm not spending time with him. But there to me, that's almost more rewarding than the pay. I forget what that job cost. He told me after, a couple of weeks later, he said it wasn't enough. and to me it was, it was. And then you have, I was talking to somebody the other day about things. Oh, well, I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to open up a big can of worms, but I'll basically kind of tell you I'm not going to tell you who the conversation was with, but I got talking about the process of making custom rifles, and how they're, let me take this real quick. Hi, this is Susie calling with the vehicle service department. Those warranty people, I swear to God, they can get you. They find you everywhere. But anyway, we got talking about I want the way it was another school, and the way they do their accurizing. As a man, that's way dated. And if you ever get this, if this situation arises, which it does more than it should nowadays, because our quality control isn't what it used to be, it's not going to work. And so you really need to update and do this. I think you've kind of gathered the gist of this conversation out, where it came from. So anyway, they said, well, and then I'd made comments on, you need to have, it'd be nice with some of these schools if they would do, with these online schools, if they would do practical machining, not just learn how to use the machine, but make things that are going to be useful. That's what you do when you go to brick and mortar gunsmithing schools. You make your punches, you make your hammers, you make your free floating reamer holders, you make those things. And it trains your mind to look at things through a tool maker's or part maker's mindset, which is a little bit different. And then when something comes into your shop and it's missing a part, you don't think, oh my God, I'm missing a part, I don't know what to do. And you act like the robot on Lost in Space, danger, danger, danger. You get out your calipers and you read and you take dimensions and you say, okay, I got this, I'll make it. Because you have the skill set and the mindset to do it. And he said, and the conversation turned into, well, if you've got more time than money, you make those things. If you have more money than time, you buy those things. And this is somebody that says, well, do you want to be a parts replacer, or do you want to be a gunsmith? Well, that's hypocritical, in my opinion. Because to me, any chance I can get on my lathe and make something, that's experience. And I'm going to tell you, when I first started in this business, I screwed up a lot of stuff, but I did it in a way. For example, this is a true story. When I first started out, one of the first rifles that came in to work on was a Browning A bolt in the 22-250, and the guy came in and he wanted a PRS type rifle. Well, the Browning A bolt is a damn good rifle. He's had a very good platform. They're pretty match quality right out of the box. And I sat down at my table, I did the math, and I said, well, this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to shorten the barrel of this. We need this kind of twist rate to support this weight bullet. And at the end of it, you're going to lose what that rifle was designed for, i.e. the 22-250 is a hell of a varmint rifle. You're not going to be able to do, it's going to be useless at that yardage. If you want to really get out there and really stretch that out, it's going to be useless. And he said, that's okay. I got another one. And I said, all right. Well, then you get into this deal of trying to track down things for the Browning A bolt. There's no parts out there for that. And I called one of the AGI instructors who's a very respectable custom rifle builder. And I said, this is what I've got going on and this is what we're doing. And he said, oh, that's great. You know, what is it on? And I said, it's a Browning A bolt. And he said, throw it away, get a Remington 700 action. The Browning A bolts are miserable to work on because the barrel and receiver are in fine threads. You're going to strip them out when you pull it out. There's no parts availability for those things. So you got to make everything. And, blah, blah, blah. And it was like somebody just crapped all over my parade. And I hung up the phone and I said, that really made me sad. But I'm also the type of guy that don't ever tell me never. And I sat down and I made some other phone calls and talked to a couple other people. And they probably, looking back on it, told me the same thing, but they did it in a way to where, if you choose to do this, and you get stuck, call and let me know, and I'll help you. And that's probably why I love doing these videos, because that's how I've been treated in this business. So anyway, yep, sure enough, pulled that barrel out and all the threads got pulled out. They just stripped right out. Those things are on incredibly tight. So I got real confident in turning fine threads. Survived the chambering, survived truing up the action and all of that. Then it came down to the trigger. There is no adjustable trigger on the market for under $600 for a Browning A bolt. And I thought, well, ain't that a bunch of crap? And so I got out my tools and my grinders and everything. And I've been welding since the dawn of time. Pretty handy with a TIG welder, which, by the way, if you haven't welded, you don't do that every day in gunsmithing. But you do weld. It's the TIG welding, which to me, if you've had to braze or stick weld, the old saying, why do they call it stick welding? It's because you stuck your rod to whatever it was you're trying to weld. Those are very complicated processes. The TIG weld is very user friendly to me. Don't be intimidated by that. And so anyway, I sat down and I just spent the whole night taking measurements on that trigger. And then I went and I looked at the Remington 700 trigger. And I blueprinted that. I blueprinted the A bolt, and then I kind of fused everything together, and I built that guy from scratch, fully adjustable trigger assembly for his Browning A bolt. Now, I lost my ass on that. on, because it took me a long time, and it was a lot of trial and error to get everything fit up right and get the welds right and make it look professional and not some mess. Is something that I could be proud of. And it just, it's one of those things. It just, you're going to have days like that where you've got to chalk whatever it is you're working up, that new territory, and chalk it up to a learning experience. Yeah, you might lose your tail on this one, but the next time it comes around, you've already been through the process and you already know what you're doing. So you can't be afraid of that, but you got to have the mindset to be able to think through it. Outside of that, I don't know what other questions do we have. Question about AGI, not sure if you answered it, but when it comes to the projects, do I need to provide my own firearms? Yes, you do. You do. AGI has no hands-on projects. And this is Stan Browning. How much would a lathe like this cost? Oh, he was watching the gunsmithing update that I did on the Grizzly lathe. A word on lathes. I got into a big, huge argument about a month ago with he's probably a retired machinist in his 60s, 70s, not that much older than me, really, about how you need to have $100,000 shop to be a successful gunsmith, and you better have this machine and that machine. And I should have done a whole video just on what that guy was saying, because I don't mind those things. Again, it's a learning opportunity, because I'm either going to defend it or I'm going to agree with it. Well, anyway, it made him mad and he left. And some people will crumb on Chinese lathes or whatever. And what I'm going to tell you is, many, many years ago, I was involved in NASCAR, and I worked for and am friends with a guy by the name of Keith Vance. He was a hell of an engine builder and a very, very smart guy. When NASCAR got into all the gauges and the way they spec these cars out, he was the guy that had to come up with all those things. He's nobody's fool. And way back when, he told me, a good machinist never blames his tools. And I find that to be pretty true. And I know that rattles, if you're a Bridgeport or a South Bend fan, it's probably going to rattle your world. If you like Precision Matthews and this and that, everything has its upside and everything has its downside. That little Grizzly lathe, it's 12 by 36, 10 by 22 with a 1-inch bore. That is, yes, you're right. They have a CNC when they built yeah, right. But yeah, 10 by 22 with that 1-inch through hole. There goes Bubba now. That'd be a great lathe. Let me know who makes it. What kind is it? I'd be curious on that. I love lathes. I've developed quite a passion for lathes, and I'm always looking. I almost got myself a Atlas. Oh yeah, Precision Matthews. Yeah, the 10. They are good lathes. Precision Matthews is a very good lathe. Yep. And the Grizzly, I think they're all good. I think the thing that I like about, I'm going to get way off track. Let me finish my other statement. With the lathes, I almost bought an old Atlas Precision not that long ago. The guy had taken it apart. It was I think that was a 12 by 26 or something. And he had it all torn apart to rebuild it. He had all the seals, all the bearings, everything. It was in a box, and it was just in a million pieces. And he wanted like $700 for it. And I said, well, I think he's maybe $100 too high, but I would love to just get that and go through it and put it together. And I was ready to head that way and called the guy, and he had just sold it, and it made me sad. But yeah, Precision Matthews is a very good lathe. Um, my mill is the Precision Matthews mill, and I love it. And what I'll say, uh, like the Grizzly, they all have a wait time right now, I think. But it all depends. Quality control is such a factor uh, in anything you buy these days. And the one thing that I have been really, really impressed with Grizzly is their quality control is excellent. Unlike Precision Matthews, you're not going to call Grizzly and talk to the owner of the owner. Precision Matthews, chances are you can. There's times I've called up there and gotten the owner on the phone, and that's nice. The thing that I think Precision Matthews could improve upon is their manuals. Grizzly has outstanding manuals. Um, the and really with the gunsmithing, what I'll say about the Grizzly lathes is if you're looking at those lathes, get the gunsmithing series. The gunsmithing series is built for precision. It's different than their other lathes. It's like the Precision Matthews. They have their lathes, and then they have their ultra precision lathes, which are really, really nice. Either way, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I think they're both really good. If you get into um, if you get into mills, the mill I have is the Precision Matthews 932M, and the reason I didn't go with the Grizzly is because the Grizzly, the ways and things of that sort are machined, whereas on the Precision Matthews they're ground. And to me, that's a big deal because that is your longevity and accuracy. A ground way is going to maintain itself a lot longer, and it's going to yeah, that 1640 is outstanding. That is a hell of a machine. um, maybe someday. And yeah, you're right, they have a 2.5, it's over 2.5 bore on that. And you're gonna, I mean, if you're into gunsmithing, you're not gonna have to worry about anything coming down the pike. That'll do your 50 BMGs and everything. And they are is that is the ultra precision. Yeah, that's an excellent piece of equipment. Maybe someday, but I probably won't ever get rid of my Grizzly. I love it. Um, but getting back to the mills, that's where the ground surface is going to maintain and hold up and be more accurate than a machined surface any day of the week. And I don't know why Grizzly doesn't do that. Their lathes, like on the gunsmithing lathes, they're all NSK bearings. Um, they're all precision. They're all ground and hardened ways. But on the mills, they're machined. I don't uh, I don't understand that. Been a smith for 30 years. Boy, I'd like to crawl around your head for an hour or 10. The things you've seen just must be something else. Um, so yeah, and then Frank, what school would you suggest? How did your son do with modern? Actually, that's going to be another video. I got a lot of questions on that. How's my boy Chris? How's he doing in their course? He is waiting on a few more units to show up. He just finished his second unit. He's doing very good. I try to really leave him alone and just let him get through the course. It's kind of a savage experiment in my mind. I want to see what he has questions with and what he doesn't. And so far, he's been getting along pretty good. Every now and again, I'll go through and sneak and see what his lessons are about, and they're good lessons. They're pretty, it's very generalized, um, which for him, I think is really pretty good because he's a young man. He doesn't have the experience um, that us older folks have. But he's doing good. He loves the course. I am gonna when I can sit him down for a little bit, I would rather him just tell you that. So probably what I'll do when he has a moment is one of the videos that we'll do. He'll basically I'll just interview him and we'll see how he's doing. We'll find out together. How's that? Um, so yeah, but the 1022, yeah, you did. You said that was the precision Matthews. Yeah, good lathes. I I thanks Ben. I try real hard. Getting back to schools, I, Frank, I don't know. I don't. It. I would have to know more, know your circumstance a little bit better. What is to be able to answer that and give you a good, honest answer? I think, like I said, I think they're both. I think they're both good schools. I think that AGI in some things is a lot more advanced, but you're going to pay a lot more money for that. Um, they're yeah, and you shouldn't. I mean, as strict as even Chicago or California is, I think you're gonna be tied up more in local government than you are with the ATF. I'll tell you that right now. The ATF is pretty hard to get along with. It's your local government that's going to give you the most grief. But as long as you play by the rules, I know lots of fellows that have gone through school and out in California, and they've they've been able to get their FFLs, but they had to do it. Um, I know several of them were in their basically the garage in their house, things like that. So basically, I that's what I would do if I was in one of those states. Is I would actually set in motion. Um, I'll get to that in a minute, Ben. I would set in motion a pathway to get my FFL uh, before I did invest in schooling, because boy, you'd be real sad if you went to school and then you couldn't do it. I think, and the best thing I can tell you about that, Frank, is go to, start at your town. You're going to have more problem with your local government. So go to your town, town hall, town offices, whatever you got up there, city offices, and start that conversation now, man, and see what hoops they're going to make you jump through, and then when you get to the ATF side of life, you'd be like, oh man, this is easy peasy. Um, Ben, if I lived closer to you, I would seriously try to get an apprenticeship at your shop. Uh, that's one of the reasons my son got into this. Was he he started hanging around and watching what I was doing, and he's a pretty smart kid. He doesn't have a lot of the mechanical experience that I do, but he's nobody's dummy. And he said, "Man, I would like to do this." Um, all right, so you're a AGI grad too. Well, thanks for thanks for finding us. Um, I'd be curious. You graduated in 2004. I'd be curious to know what your experience with them then was with where they're at now, because I know I deal with a lot of people. Um, of course, you had a big benefit. This I'm talking to WT. I don't want to say your last name. I'll probably butcher it, but Houghton. Um, I'll just call you WT. But he started working with his grandfather when he was 14, and then went through AGI. So you're probably a little bit you started more like how I started. I had a lot of background in fixing things, and so AGI was probably worked out pretty good for you because you already had a working understanding of a lot of things that they were laying down. Um, but getting back to the shop apprenticeship, yeah, that's kind of why I hired. I got my son involved. Um, was to help pick up the slack. I'm getting busy enough between this and the actual gun repair and all of that where I needed another hand. And the hard part for me with family isn't, or maybe with my kids, it's not working with them or being around them. I like, they might disagree, but I think for the most part I'm pretty easy to get along with. um, I do have high expectations, and therein lies the problem. And that's why we looked at school for him. I just figured, him being my son, your expectations are tremendously high, and it would be easier for both of us, for him to get a vocabulary. That's what we were worried about with him, is just go through the school so we can have a conversation. Everything else is, I'm not worried about that with him. Um, but getting back to Frank, yeah, and then I'll finish my other thought as I'm still putting those back together. And well, thank you for your service, Tom. I am probably very similar backgrounds. I was not in Nam or Vietnam, um, but I had Chris Sinog was one of my instructors in the service. And if you come from that background, you probably know who that is. Um, so, anyway, thanks for your service. From one brother to another, I think it's different than strangers thanking you for your service. Sometimes that can be weird. At least for me, it was. Um, but getting back to the apprenticeship, I'm considering. I already kind of do. Um, where do you live, Ben? Would be my next question. But because I already do kind of it's not etched in stone. I just kind of put it out there. I get folks from Austin and things of that sort. Where here comes Bubba. He's gonna aggravate us now. Gonna tear the. If I lose my camera, that's what happened. Old Bubba stole the show, literally. Uh, Bridgeport, Ohio. Oh yeah, that's a poke. That's a little bit more than a drive. But what I've been doing is I do a little AR course in shop. It's small. It's yeah, not a lot of gunsmiths. I was shocked. I'm right there with you, Frank. In general, but getting back to the apprenticeship, um, I kind of do that now with the AR. It's nothing like, I don't do a monthly course or I don't do this. I just put it out there, and when it fills, usually within a month or two, to get people signed up, I, I've I do little courses on the AR or the 1911 or whatever, and they're small courses. Um, 3 or 4 people. They come into the shop. We go through like in the AR. Um, and the AR is an interesting platform that way, is because it's oh yeah, driving truck, that is tough. Well, I'll tell you a story about that. Um, yeah, that's how it is when you're starting out. The pay for a gunsmith, it's not very good. Um, Especially when you start apprenticing. Let me get I'll get to all these eventually. Um, so what I started doing was just little hands-on courses on the AR for such a simple platform. There's really not a lot to them. It's a lot like the Glock. They're very uh, specification driven. Um, i.e., pins. You can have a pin that's loose or too tight, and it's going to affect things. And so what I started doing, I started out with armorers. They would come into the shop and we would spec whatever they came in with. Just go through and spec everything out. Everything has a specification. So we'd spec pins, we'd spec springs, we'd spec this, spec that, and a lot of times they found the they had a way to diagnose the problem at that point, and that's really been a hit. And so then I started doing it with the Glock and 1911s, and they're smaller courses, so you get to spend they're like little mini apprenticeships, and with that few people, you'd be surprised what you can learn in a day, 8 hours, if you're just put the blinders on and you're just looking at that one platform. And with 3 or 4 people, it's interesting because you may have the same problem, but 3 different causes. And so you do get a pretty rounded deal that way. So that's something that I'm looking at uh, further down the road is maybe not apprenticeships per se. If I hope, I don't know that I really want to get that big to where I've got, a ton of employees. I think at that point you kind of lose yourself in that. You lose your not everybody's me. Not everybody has the same work ethic I do. That's one of the reasons I even looked at my son, because we'll get. I'll start. Like I said, that's down the road. I'm not ready to commit to having classes quite yet. I live out in the middle of nowhere, so um, if you when I start it's easy for the local guys because they can drive up here. Um, we'd get going at 8:30 in the morning and finish up whenever we got done, and sometimes it'd be pretty late at night, and then they could go home. If you look at coming down for a day or two, man, it's 40 minutes to a motel. That I gotta figure. Yeah, I have lots of space for tents. I'm in the middle of. I don't know too many places you can go to and have a range that runs out to 2 miles. Yes, 2 miles. I haven't been able to pull that off yet. I say yet. A lot of it is just getting the that rifle built, and when you start looking at that gets very expensive. Um, but I have out to 2 miles. Um, I have 100 yard. I have a pistol range, 100 yard range that goes 100, 500, 1,000. Um, I do pretty good out to a mile and a half with. Well, I say pretty good. I'm really stretching the Sixth Creed at that point, but yeah, I got all kinds of place for that. Lots of room for tents. That doesn't mean show up and camp out, but yeah, it's pretty nice to be able to have that. Um, pretty remote where I'm at. But anyway, now I got lost where I was. Um, that happens. That made me laugh, but that is something that I've thought long and hard about, is opening the doors. And that might be something with some of the other, when I actually get into doing the courses, that might be an option to where um, I have a way to verify that somebody actually knows what they're doing, as far as a gunsmith course, to where you would have to come down and we would have that course over a day or two with several different things, and probably not easy things. That's all down the road. That's what my brain is like. You're getting a glimpse into my brain. I'm very much a squirrel, and when you put one of these in my hands, everything, all those squirrels line up and they say, "Let's get it." Um, so opening a Midwest office. I'll maybe if I get if we'll see. I would have to. It's funny you say that, Ben. Is uh, I've had there's a fella out in out in California. His name's Randy, and we've gotten to be pretty good friends. He's pretty smart, and we just had this conversation not that long ago about having a network of uh, gunsmiths across the country that can help people that want to be gunsmiths or are in a course, um, to, to to get them better and help them where they don't understand things. The problem with that is you have to be really, you have to have a servant's heart. Um, you have to really you have to really, to me, and I do take this very seriously. I have an 11-year-old student. She wants to be. I don't know if she wants to train horses or not. She showed up here a year ago um, and said, "I want to ride rain cow horses." She was 10, and we survived that year. And this year, she won the world. I mean, in the youth. Next year, she's looking at moving up, not only in the youth, but getting into the not. If you understand showing horses, we have all different levels for professionals and for non-professionals, and those things. And anyway, that's a tremendously huge accomplishment. And my point is my mindset when somebody like that comes along. I want them to be better than me. I want, I was taught, um, probably mostly from my dad, and maybe that's why I like Gene Shuey so much, and from Shuey, that if you really want to do this and you want to help people reach their goal or achieve their dream, or now I have my dad say it: if you want to achieve your dreams, help somebody else achieve theirs. That's what he's, and basically what he was saying is be a good human being. And yeah, one per se, the boy, that would put me in the grave if I had to do that. Um, but that really is the truth. I mean, when she started taking lessons, it was when she showed up. It was all about her and all about getting her to that level. And boy, there's a lot of factors at play. She has to have the dedication and the work ethic to do that, and then I have to have the dedication and the work ethic to see her succeed. And sometimes that means I have to take a step back from my goals and not do those things. I was in the middle of um, going to world, and I chose on a mare that I have in training, and I settled for regional champion this year, and gave up my ambition for world this year so that she could do it. And I'll tell you, I'm pretty happy I made that choice. And that's the problem with doing that in my brain, is to be able to have somebody in like California, somebody in the Midwest, somebody on the East Coast. They would have to be as dedicated to helping you get to where you want to be than anything else. Yeah, except for the wow, that's probably where we need the most help is in the communist states. I mean, if we just ignore them, they only get bigger. Um, but that would be my problem with that, is you would really have to be as dedicated to serving those people as as me in my brain, because I would want it. I know how I am, and not everybody's like me. I'm sure there's a lot of you. I don't know how to explain that, but they would have to their work ethic. would have to be very extremely similar to mine. Um, hey, speaking of Randy, there he is. What's up from California? How you doing, Randy? I was just talking about you. Um, that's probably you probably heard your ears burning. But yeah, we were just talking about that, about how that would be cool at some point to have that network to where we have good, competent people that are smart and are there to help other people. And maybe that'll happen someday. I don't know. This has been a hell of a trip for me. To be honest, I figured, um, when I started this, my goal was to be sitting at the bench and doing custom rifles, custom pistols, so that I don't have to shoot horses anymore. I don't like it, and it's done way more than that. It has grown in. I look at these comments right now, and I look at all of y'all, and to me, it's incredibly humbling. Today, I got on to bring an update. I just happened to do it live because it's so much easier to do than have to set up the camera, video, do the questions and answers. I stay on track a little better that way, but do the questions and answers, and then I have to go through and it goes through a conversion process to go to YouTube. It's just a lot of work. And I look at everybody that's in here and the comments I've got and the conversation that we're having, and to me, it's just very humbling. And it all started. Um, the very first video I made was the review I did on AGI, and that was supposed to be the end because I went through the course and I said, man, there's nobody out there that's done a review on this. I didn't think it was half bad, so I'll do a review on it, and here we are. In a year. I look at the YouTube channel every day, and I see, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. This is a brand new channel in crazy times in our world, where if you don't agree with the, people, I don't know if people know this, um, but most of your news media is controlled by 6 corporations in the world. That's fact. And if you're pro Second Amendment, this is just, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. I'm sorry if this, not really, but if this offends anybody, I'm sorry. What can I say? But we live in a time where if you're pro Second Amendment, pro life, pro earning a living without the government watching every move you make, they silence you. And here we are. We're at 1,000, and yet this channel, anything firearms related on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, it's suppressed. They have algorithms written in place to where you really have to work to find it, and we're still doing it. So to me, it's very humbling. But like I said, I live out in the middle of nowhere, from a small town, so it really doesn't take much probably to amuse me. Anyway, that's where we are. It's pretty cool, and I will take that into heart. I think that would be a lot of fun. That would be a great way, for anybody from any school to gain experience. And then, I look at things like, where'd he go? He's up here somewhere. Todd. I look at guys like Todd, who's been a smith for a long time. Good Lord, if you got somebody like that in your shop at one of these classes, they're there to learn. He has an experience and an insight that, there's probably a lot of us that haven't had, and that's just beneficial. I remember one of the biggest things. I don't. I am proud, but I'm proud of probably, not necessarily myself. I'm proud of what we're doing. In the I have a lot of friends now that are YouTubers, I guess is the word, and they say you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, and yes, I am very proud of that, and but I don't rest on my laurels. I want it to get better and better and better. I want the quality to get better. I want I want it to just really get better. But I have a lot of friends in YouTube that I've met going down this trip, and I said, man, you need to quit with that. You need to be doing this. You need to be doing that because you can make, you'll be doing. And I just that's not where I belong. I belong doing what I'm doing, and I don't think the easy road oftentimes isn't the high road. So I don't mind a little bit of adversity either. I think that makes you smarter. It makes you stronger. You gain not just knowledge but wisdom. So anyway, how'd you make out with that pin, Randy? We were just talking last night, and I haven't heard from you today. So I guess I guess it turned out. Well, that's great. I appreciate that, Frank. And I do. I don't. There's no. Yeah, I watched. It's funny. There's a YouTuber around here. He's has a shooting uh, channel, and I can't remember the. I can't. Excuse me. I can't remember the name of it because he's my friend. It's like my phone number or my wife's phone number. I don't know her phone number. I just hit her name, and that's what it. But anyway, he has a shooting channel, and well, I forgot what I was going to say. That's what happens. I want to know about that pin. Um, oh, that's what it was. Yeah, he. It's funny to me because I look at him on. I watch him on the YouTube channel, and I know this guy in real life, and it's like, where's that guy? You know, it's I whacked it a few more times, and it went in snug. Well, all right, that's great, and uh, and it is. I think I do. I get a lot of compliments on that actually, and a lot of comments on that. I do try to be very honest. I don't try to be something I'm not, and I think that's why it's real. So I appreciate all you guys. Um, it is getting kind of late. Um, I've got I've got now you can find a ton of reviews on AGI. Your review on Modern was one of the only one I found on Modern. So thank you for both. Yeah, there's only there. It's funny. There's one other. I looked at that after I did that. There's only one other review, really. Well, there's two. It's really sad. So I don't know. I don't know what happens. I don't know. Wow, I don't know who's putting out the reviews on AGI. I know they they asked me a while ago if they could use my video on their website that I did, and I told them yeah. And it was interesting because they used the link to the YouTube page, and um, I think they have somebody in that office that watches my channel because every now and again I'll say something, and then within a day or two, or sometimes at not 15 minutes after I post it, I get a call. And Knoxville, Tennessee. I like Tennessee. And so, and they tell me almost word for word what I said. And so I know they watch this. But anyway, what I found out today is they basically, what happened is because I did my review and gave them the link, and it used to be if you watch that review, it would, because it came from my YouTube page, it'd bring you here. So basically, they refilmed it, and put all their AGI stuff on it. And yeah, right. That's my whole point is to keep them honest. And I'll tell you that Randy and I have really held their feet to the fire over the past couple months. Yeah, I don't know what good it'll do, but there's a few of you. I don't see, other than Randy, I don't see him in here right now. But there's a few of you that are going through that course right now, to where, boy, we've really put their feet in the fire, and you got to do that. That's something I take kind of seriously. I mean, that it might be their certificate, but my name's on it, and if their credibility isn't where I think it needs to be, that's a reflection of me, and I don't if there's a believe me, if there's a problem that I can't fix, I get on the phone and we try to get it. We got to get it fixed. Thanks, Ben. We'll see you later. If there, one thing that I wanted to say, while it is getting pretty late, it's 4:30 here. Um, Drop down in the comments below and let me know uh, what. Hey, Jason, how are you? Jason is Over the Top Martial Arts School. I believe he's enrolled in modern, so he'd be a good one. Or from Georgia, but I thought he was in the modern gun school, enrolled in that. I might be thinking of somebody else. Yeah, he is. How you doing with that? I'd be curious. That's one thing. The other thing that I don't do is I don't discriminate on schools. In fact, uh, if I can get my F, I think I'm going with modern. Yeah, that's well, like I said, Frank. By the time you get all that figured out, you're kind of on the end over on this end. So, like I tell everybody, if you have problems or whatnot, you know, give a shout. This is I'm in this for the long haul, and then hopefully when my day is done, my son will be able to pick up the slack. As long as these platforms are around, we'll be here. And like I said, the thing that I found with modern, I like their program. I really do. I think there's things in there that to be quite honest, AGI could learn from. I don't want to talk about schools again very much, but all right, he's working on his stock finishing. Yeah, my son's not quite to that point. I think that's what he's waiting for now in the mail. Um, but one thing I think I've got lined out with AGI, because it's it's not. It used to be, if you called AGI, let's say you were Sonoran Desert Institute graduation. Uh, yeah, you will. Just as I was talking about a little bit earlier, Cody, if those tests start giving you trouble, or there's some information in there that's a little tricky. So if you get into trouble or you need anything, especially being that you're enrolled in AGI, don't be afraid to reach out. Um, Sometimes Jack, Jack and them, and I know Randy can speak to this. So jump in there, Randy, if you want, because I'll read the comments as they go by. Uh, but yeah, if you get into trouble on those tests and it doesn't make sense, don't be afraid to reach out. We'll get you squared away, and unless you want to hold off until somebody from AGI can get in touch with you, sometimes that can take a while. Um, yeah, and like I was saying, I'm going to call you over the top. Um, that's the problem I see with modern is it's all reading. I would fall asleep awful fast just reading. Um, there does need to be, because I see his school book, I look at the pictures that they have. If you follow the directions, that's great. But if you don't really understand, well, what is this and what is that, and you look at the pictures, if they had good, clear pictures, I think it'd be a little bit different. But it's always nice to be able to watch somebody. When I was looking at schools, and I understand SDI has changed quite a bit. One of the deciding factors for me, uh, and not enrolling in that, well, there's several. One is I don't need another degree, and two, their main gunsmith was a AGI dropout. He didn't graduate the courses, and then back then they I don't know if it was that was part of their course or what. So if you're an SDI student, let me know. But they would have the videos of all their students doing all these projects, and every single one of them, there's parts flying all over the place. And I was like, well, why is that? I don't understand that. They've just got there's no I don't get it. And that's the one thing that I wish, yeah, modern could really benefit on the assembly disassembly if they would just make a video and upload it. They have a campus website where they can upload that stuff easy enough. Um, I think if they did that, that would be great because you'd be able to see with your own eyes those pitfalls. That's one of the gaps that I see in all of this. And like the other gaps is, and not to just what is this, everyone that has issues with questions flood AGI with the questions so that they will be forced to do what they have said they would do with some of the problems. Yes, and Cody, you will get there. There is a lot to learn. They hit you with a brick, and it's you'll learn a lot. And I think Randy can attest to this. Is if you understand these things and you understand the systems, you'll learn even more than what you've learned taking the course. Because I know you're not there yet, Cody, but one of the things that they'll talk about, I don't know what you mean about my handle, um, unless you're talking to a different DH. Um, but one of the things that they'll talk about in AGI, and I just picked this because this is the simplest to understand, is on the nylon 66. They'll tell you, and when you call them out on it, they'll fight tooth and nail for this. The weight of the bolt is what uh, the mass and weight of the bolt is what keeps it closed. I forget exactly how they say it. I try not to remember that. Well, behind the bolt, you have this thing called mainspring. And basically what they say, if you believe that line of thinking, if you take the mainspring out, my name's Dave, Dave Hill. If you take the mainspring out, the weight of the bolt and the mass of the bolt will hold it shut. And when I first read that, I thought, how is that possible? I mean, if there's a buzzard in the sky and I don't have a mainspring and I go to shoot that buzzard out of the sky, what's going to happen to the bolt? I'm going to pull the trigger and that damn thing's going to come back and whack me in the face. So there's things in there that can get you in trouble, Cody. So when be careful of those. And you'll all I'm saying is when you get to those points, if you get confused or you need help, don't be afraid to reach out. That's what really started this whole thing, was the problems that I had going through the course, just little discrepancies that if you don't understand it, they're really, they can turn into very big, dangerous discrepancies. And that is one thing, for over the top, I will say, just based on the testing that my son has taken, there has been there's no trickery. there's no, like, eventually in the AGI course, you're going to get to sections where the only way you'll be able to answer them is if you have this book. It's the Machinery's Handbook. This happens to be a 23rd edition, and I actually just picked up the first through 12th first printing editions from a machine shop that closed. If you're into, I geek out on books, so that's really cool for me. But there's a lot of information that they're gonna, unless they fix those tests, and they're supposed to fix them. I've worked very hard for a year on getting them to address the test questions and the test and some of the information they put out. For example, in the AR course, we all know ARs. If you don't, I'm sorry. But on the AR course, they ask you how does I forget what was it, Randy, the hammer spring? I think it was the hammer spring. The legs on the hammer spring face to the rear or face to the front. The correct answer on the test is face to the front. That is incorrect. If you do that, you will never have a customer again, I promise. Because after that gun fails, and fails in such a way that customer has to change their shorts, and then they come after you with a lawsuit, you're going to be very, very sad. But so those are things that, and there's enough of those types of questions where it's very hard to I'm not a test taker, but that doesn't mean I don't like to do well. And I figured out that if this guy's talking, that's right. Hey, look at that. Even way back in 2004. So nothing has changed since 2004. Wow. They're probably really sad I come along. They're probably really sad that Randy's come along, and there's a few others that have come along. That's good though, because you can really there's parts in there, parts of that course where they advocate removing factory parts, and it'll work just fine. It'll without this. Well, I promise you now. I have a degree in mechanical engineering, but I also have to get along in the real world. I don't like to brag on that. I'm not that nerdy, but the what I enjoy about that is you have all the book smart, but then when you work like, I'll tell you how it goes. So down the road, they have these big, if you've never been around a farm or a feedlot, you might not have, but they have these big trucks. They're feed trucks, and you load them up with so much weight of grain. They measure how much goes out per head of cow and blah, blah, blah. Well, the engineers that design these things, they design them, and they don't design them for environmental conditions. They just say, well, in theory, it'll work. So they go out and buy a feed truck, and then maybe when they're scooping the feed, there's a tire that got lost in there, and holding the tarp down so it stays dry. And the tire gets in there, and I don't know who that is, Alex. I would have to. My brain needs to switch gears probably to process that. And so anyway, a tire gets in there, and it busts out these little tiny keyways on this massive auger. And I look at this and I say, now, who is the genius that come up with this? And so we'll go in there with red iron, and that's right. See, you're already way ahead of the game, Frank. And that's my point. So you go in there and you fix this the way that it needs to be fixed to work in the real world. That's almost the same with guns. Oh yeah. Now that's the problem with me is I get you're welcome, Cody. It's hard. I get a lot of thoughts in my brain, and sometimes it takes me a minute to get those thoughts cleaned out so I can load more information. But anyway, yeah, that's how it is with guns. If the manufacturer put that part in there, chances are there's a reason it's there. Um, and if God forbid, like let's take this for example. So let's say indeed, if you do remove this specific part, the firearm does work. Okay, so old boy goes home, and maybe he reloads. Okay, and so he actually he accidentally loses where he was in his process. I'll do a video on that too. I have a whole reloading setup that you guys. It's not. If you're a fan of like the Ultimate Reloader, Gavin, that guy's got every. If it's for reloading, he has it. It's a sick. He's got every press that was ever made. It's unbelievable. Mine's. I have Hornady. That's what my press is. But yes, that's where I'm going with that. So you take that part out because well, it'll work without it, and maybe it does, and maybe it's perfectly safe. But old boy's a reloader, and he loses where he is as in his order of operations. Um, well, that went out of style. When we traded, that's a whole nother video. When those, because I agree 100% with that, Alex. But anyway, getting back to my point, so old boy's a reloader. He forgets where he's at in his order of operations and double charges around. He goes out and loads that round, bang bang boom, blows that thing up in his hands. Wow, surely it wasn't my fault. He sues you. They bring in all these experts and they say, where's this part? He brought it to you to fix, and this part was removed. If you're honest, well, you're screwed. You tampered with a factory rifle in a way that put they that's all they care about is there's parts in that gun that were there and aren't there now, and in their opinion, you made it unsafe, and he got hurt. So I think anytime you advocate for the removal of factory parts, um, it's one thing to pull out an AR trigger and put in a factory drop-in trigger. All the parts are there. You're not removing. You're not potentially making that in a dangerous situation because on a whim you think it can work. I don't advocate that. That's a dangerous uh, way to be. If it's there and it comes into your shop or your buddy or whatever, um, you it needs to go out that way. Or you can potentially be in a whole lot of trouble, and then you may not necessarily, and then you're left wondering, well, maybe I really did hurt that guy. Anyway, um, yeah, wow, that's funny, guys, because I'm actually, Hill is, I'm I'm 50. Well, I'm American, but I'm 50-50 Irish Scottish. Um, the Hill is the Scottish. I was named after Saint Patrick. My grandpa, who I was talking about earlier, he was a tool and die maker. Um, his name was McLaughlin. You don't get much. You don't get much more Irish than that. Anyway, um, so yeah, just getting back to Cody. Just be aware of those things. If you get lost, don't hesitate to reach out. Um, if I understand YouTube correctly, one thing uh, I think kind of opens up is when you get to 1,000 subscribers, is you have the ability to create like a forum or a discussion area, And getting back to what some other people have said about creating a network, well, this is the easiest way to do it. Um, the only thing I can say to that is I have to have a way to vet the information. So if you don't know, don't recommend a fix unless you're pretty damn pretty damn sure that it's cool. Um, but yeah, if you have troubles or whatever, don't be afraid to reach out. Somebody will get you. I know I will. Um, other than that, I don't know what else there is, guys. This was very surprising to me on our second live chat to have this kind of interaction unannounced. So again, um, I'm gonna throw my little sales pitch out. You can go over to the patreon.com/DH Gunworks and help support the channel. Um, there's some things on there that I haven't posted yet. And there will be things on there that I just don't post for those who help uh, me keep doing what I'm doing. Um, each DVD has a piece of paper that states they have updated their testing. So we will see, I guess. Well, I have a. Hey, thanks, Lumpy. I appreciate that. Um, Cody, getting to your question, the way it was supposed to work is they were actually when they updated those tests. Yeah, you got to take care of those dogs. I'm right there with you. It's about time. I got dogs and cats and horses I got to take care of here in a minute. But it's what a good way to spend part of the afternoon. We'll do this more often. I'll just try to post a heads up try to pin a dedicated day and time down. So let me know in the comments what would be the best time or day, and I'll kind of average it out and we'll go from there. But I'll try to give everybody a heads up rather than just surprise. Um, but getting back to Cody, um, so the way that was supposed to work is they were supposed to go through all of the tests, um, and go through all of the answers, all of the questions, redo them, and then they were supposed to uh, send those out to a select few for review to make sure that they're accurate. And that was right here. And I haven't heard hide nor hair of that. That brings together another point real quick before we got to put this to rest, at least for today. I don't even have these things hung up anymore. Here it is. The other thing that I heard about, and I got I've had several complaints on it, is, AGI advertises that when you complete their course, you'll be a certified whatever it is. If you're doing the professional course, you're certified professional gunsmith. If you do the master course, you're certified master gunsmith. Whatever. And I never actually noticed this. This was brought to my attention by Randy and by a few others, and I was just really glad to be kind of done with it. But on your certificate, what it used to be was you would get your certificate. This is it, and I know you can't read it because for some reason the camera is backwards. But what it says is, this is to certify that David Patrick Hill, that's me, has successfully completed all comprehensive courses in the professional gunsmithing course. Think about that for a minute. What that says is I completed the courses. Now I spent a lot of time in the automotive industry, and I actually wished I would have caught that much sooner, because it's kind of embarrassing to me when I go out there and yes, exactly, Frank. So in the automotive industry, I'll use alignments, for example. Uh, there was a company out there called Specialty Products, and Specialty Products would go around and they would hold little classes. They were usually 4 to 5 hours long. And but basically, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and this is what you can do too. And then you would get a little test and you'd pass the test. And then you would get a certificate of completion. And that basically said, hey, congratulations, you finished our class. If you wanted to be this company with Specialty Products, if you wanted to be certified in alignments through Specialty Products, you had to go to their 6 month school on alignments. And then you had a certificate that said you are now certified by Specialty Products in alignments. That is a big deal. Um, and I fought that pretty hard. In fact, I designed the new AGI certificate, which is supposed to read: American Gunsmithing Institute confers the title of Master Gunsmith upon whoever it is, who has fulfilled all the requirements prescribed by the directors of the American Gunsmithing Institute and is entitled to all the honors, rights, and privileges thereunto appertaining, in testimony whereof this recognition of achievement is given this whatever day you graduated was. Um, and I told them, well, when I get my certificate, um, I'll get to that in just a minute, Marturius. I just saw something pop up. So I told AGI because they were all for it. Well, yeah, that's an easy fix, and they would correct it. So I said, that's great. When you get that corrected, and I have it, I'll make that post. And so I made that post, and there's like 5 or 6 people who have just graduated within the last month. Now this was fixed 2 months ago. How long ago was it, Randy? If you're still there, how long ago did we talk about that, getting that fixed? Because you were like the first one I told about that, because I sent you the picture of it and said, here we go. It was all you guys. And it was over a month ago. Well, anyway, these guys graduated within the month, and they got their certificates, and I got emails from them saying, hey, my certificate doesn't say what your certificate says. I said, well, I'll call your student advisor and let me know what happens. And I talked to several of those advisors the other day, and they don't know what has happened other than there was some kind of fit pitched in that part of the office. And so I am going to text Gene about that as soon as we're done with this and find out what the skinny is. Yeah, it was about a month ago, and make sure that that's getting squared away, because like I said, they did the tests to fix the test. It shouldn't take really that long if you're serious about it. I mean, what is that? Same way our company was when I was welding exhaust for GE. I've done that for 21 years, moved into inventory. It was just a course completion. Yeah, there's a big difference. One says you passed the course, and one says that you graduated school, basically. Um, so anyway, yeah, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to send a text to Gene, Kelly, and find out what the deal is with that. And then what was something this is something I was going to mention to you on Grizzly's website for your lathe. They show in one of the pictures where the tailstock lockdown lever actually comes out, leaving a square hole for the torque wrench. Yes, it does. And and they're all like that. All the gunsmithing lathes have that square hole. And if this camera was portable, I'd take you right over and well, you hold on just a minute. This won't take me but a minute. So we'll have a class. Let me get that bottom piece out there so it'll kind of sit flat. So here's, hopefully, I'll put that down there by the coffee. Oh, no, I don't want to break my coffee cup. That's important. So this is the tailstock as it sits on the lathe. And the reason I built the modified socket is, do you notice how this tightens down? It tightens down counterclockwise. So if you're using a click style torque wrench, you're actually loosening the nut. It won't work. And let me find a 1/2 inch. Let me get my torque wrench. This made my day. I love this stuff. So here's the modified socket I made. And what it does is it just goes over the back of this like so. And that allows me to torque in the clockwise direction, which would be on a click style torque wrench. You're moving clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen. Now, I've had people say, well, just use a beam torque wrench. You can, but a beam style torque wrench is not as accurate as the click style because you're leaving it up to error. You have to kind of guesstimate where 30 foot-pounds is. The whole idea of the torque wrench is duplication of you want this clamped down to the same torque every time. It doesn't matter if it's 45 foot-pounds, 55 foot-pounds, 20 foot-pounds. You just need it to be consistent because as you clamp it down, it's going to suck down on the bed of your lathe. Well, that can vary by 1/2 thousandth to 1,000th, and over a distance, that can be quite a tremendous change. So why did I make the socket? Because I actually reversed this, right? Here's why. And I'm going to hold this down. See all that? So it's a very, very, I guess you can't see it. I don't think I have a 1/2 inch extension. Well, what I do have is my micrometers. 101 uses for your Mitutoyos. So if I take a measurement on the 1/2 inch drive on my torque wrench, that is 0.496, which that's about average. They're usually slightly under 1/2 inch. And then I come over here and I am at 0.560. You see the problem? It's a very, very loose fit. And so that's why I went and made the modified socket so that it would fit on the oh, what I mean is that the lockdown lever actually comes out. Yeah, on this one it does not. This is fixed. It'll unscrew. See how that unscrews? That's it. The handle comes off, and then that's just a bolt that runs through it. Maybe they've changed that since I got mine. That would be great if they did. I mean, it's not a big deal to make that socket. I mean, that's all I did is, I mean, hell, you can put it in the mill if you can do it with a grinder if you really want to. I didn't have my big mill then, so all I did was chuck up an end mill and threw it in the drill press and zip. It just cut it right out. Yeah, it's probably it probably is 13 millimeter. So anyway, that's why I did that when I got mine. So you'll have to keep me posted on that. That'd be pretty cool if they change that to where you could actually do that. Um, I don't know what you get excited about, whatever. It just says F. Uh, but yeah, hey, thanks, Merton. We'll catch you. We'll catch you the next time, buddy. This has been a long episode. But hey, this has been awesome, guys. I really appreciate it. Other than that, it is getting late. I've got ponies that's going to be kicking the barn down here pretty soon if I don't get out there and get them fed. Um, but yeah, that I'll have to look into that and see if they've changed it. I know on I know on when I bought mine, um, they had not fixed it. So anyway, guys, I guess this will wrap it up for now. Like I said, down below before y'all leave, let me just give me an idea of what day and time works best, and I'll kind of get an average of that worked out, and we'll try to do this more regular. And I'll send out a notice of when we're going to do it, and I'll try to be a heck of a lot more diligent about that and getting videos out there. Sometimes you just get busy in the shop. It's not really an excuse, but sometimes you do. So anyway, y'all have a good evening. Thank you so much for checking the, supporting the channel, checking us out, spending your time with me. Look forward to doing this more often. We'll see you guys.